Welcome, everybody. I'm Rick Amato. So glad you joined us. This is Politics and Profits, the podcast. All right. We see that the stock market is recording record highs in the first several weeks here of the Trump administration, closing in on 21,000. But it was the previous 8 years under President Barack Obama where the stock market achieved unthinkable records. And Democrats and the Obama administration will be the first to point that out, that the stock market went up, up, and up for 8 years under Barack Obama. And credit to him and his administration. However, for the first time in American history, there was a disconnect between stock prices on Wall Street and the economy on Main Street. Historically, that's the beauty of Wall Street, is that it reflects success or lack of success on Main Street. But that is not what happened during the 8 years under President Barack Obama because of monetary policy. In other words, the Federal Reserve's monetary policy is what propelled stock prices, not profits and earnings and growth and job creation. Well, my next guest says he has the solution on how those of us on Main Street can take advantage of what happens on Wall Street. Joining me at this time on a Newsmaker line from New York City is financial analyst and author of the upcoming new book, Capitalism from the Inside Out: How the 99% Can Fight Crony Capitalism and Restore America's Promise. Let me introduce to you financial analyst, author, Ziad Abdelnour.
My pleasure, Rick.
Your new book comes out in July. It has a provocative title. It is called Capitalism from the Inside Out: How the 99% Can Fight Crony Capitalism and Restore America's Promise. When I see that title, Ziad, several things go through my mind. One of which is we have seen the stock market explode to all-time highs the past 8 years under President Barack Obama. However, not based upon fundamental earnings and profits of U.S. companies, which would in turn create jobs, but instead based upon the Fed's monetary policy. And that created a disconnect between Wall Street and Main Street. When I see the title of your book, Capitalism from the Inside Out: How the 99% Can Fight Crony Capitalism, it reminds me of what has happened in the stock market the past 8 years. Is there a connection between the two?
There is a clear connection, and you're very insightful to perceive this. Yes, as you said it, the last 8 years, the stock market was artificially played with, or rigged. But you know what? We can't keep on doing this. The chicken are coming to roost here. So I predict a major disruption in the market soon, within the next maximum 1 year, even less than that. 1 year from today, February 2017, maximum, if not by the end of the year. And there's going to be a huge correction. And a lot of people are going to really get hurt because they're not prepared, because they don't have any buffer, because they haven't prepared for it at all, and they will be wiped out. To make a long story short, this is not a doom and gloom, but it's happening. I really don't want to be Dr. Gloom here. So the book basically is about, go ahead.
And if that happens sooner rather than later, and I don't mean to go off topic here, but if it happens sooner rather than later, what you're predicting, might that have severe consequences for the Trump administration?
Yes, as a matter of fact, they want it to happen. They want it to come at Trump's thing. They want to put Trump out of business. They want to discredit him as much as they can, and this is going to be huge. How Trump is going to handle it, I'm confident how he's going to handle it. He has a great Secretary of Treasury. He has a great team, at least if they allow him to form the rest of his team at the rate we're going. But it's going to be brutal. Trump is the best one to handle it, that's for sure, because I don't see any candidate, any president who can handle it better than Trump. The guy is a businessman, and the guy cares about the people, the 99%. The 99% are the people who are really his support base.
All right. So, would you be advising those people that have IRAs or 403bs or just basic investment accounts? I'm not talking, Wall Street hedge fund managers. I'm talking Main Street Americans who probably should not get in the business of timing the market in general. But
Yes.
would you advise
Yes.
them to move to the sidelines at this point?
I'm not a financial planner, but the book will tell you a lot about how to position yourself in the Trump age. My previous book, Economic Warfare, Secrets of Wealth Creation in the Age of Welfare Politics, was about how to make money in the Obama age. And all those guys who followed this advice made a lot of money. This book is really about how to make money in the Trump age, which is going to be a very different age. Less regulation, less taxes, but also you're going to have a lot of other challenges which you're going to have to be aware of and face. And I talk about that in detail in the book. And this is addressed to the 99%, not to the 1%. They know what to do with their money. They already made their money. It's addressed to the 99%. This is not a personal financial planning book like Susan Orman does for financial planning. This is much more strategic. This is much more in-depth. This talks about geopolitics. This talks about really the future of the United States as I see it in the next 8 years if Trump is reelected again and if he's not reelected. How would you do? Because if he's reelected in 2020, that's something. If he's not, that's something else. And I tell you exactly what I see things happening in the next 4 years. No.
Now, we don't want to give away everything because we want our listeners to go out there and read your book. Can you give us some examples without giving away all the answers?
Some examples about how to position yourself. Well,
yes, some examples of what Main Street Americans can do to prosper in the next 8 years under the Trump years.
Well, number one, I mean, they haven't done this for a while. They really have to do much more due diligence as to how they invest their money, how they look at the market, how they look at geopolitics and the trends. They haven't. So far, they haven't. They take this very lightly. It's like they're buying a piece of furniture. I'm going to invest in that, all that stuff. And then, they follow too much what the big boys are doing. They try to emulate what the big boys are doing. The big boys do what they do because they can take risks. The 99% cannot afford to take these risks. The big boys have a buffer in terms of if they take risks, they have a buffer. 99% don't have a buffer. But then you really look, it's becoming very complex. It's not as easy as before. Now with the involvement of other countries, other economies, politics going on a global basis, geopolitics, Russia, China, India, relationships between this country, Middle East, war on terror. I mean, these factors 8 years ago were practically non-existent.
Right.
8 years ago. And now, I mean, every single factor was non-existent 8 years ago. Now, every single factor is there in full force. I mean, we talk about it at CNN, Fox News every day. And the American public still lives like, let's go and buy and hold some stock. Well, all those guys who have the theory, for example, of buying and holding, this theory doesn't apply anymore. The Warren Buffett theory of buying and holding stock is not going to apply anymore. It's becoming less and less of a factor. I really pray for what is coming up here and how people are going to weather the storm. But at the end of the day, with the stock market trading at 24 times earnings, which is not far from where in 1999 when they had the internet bubble, I don't think this is I don't recommend anyone right now to go aggressively on stocks right now. But wait a bit, see what happens with the Trump administration, if they're going to give him the power to elect his cabinet and do what he wants to do. At least, the first 100 days. People are rushing into things without thinking.
Are there, assuming things go smoothly with the administration, and that's a big assumption over the next, for the first 100 days, are there any industries that you believe are poised to do well under a Trump administration? Yes,
I think Wall Street is going to do very well because right now, look at the recent changes. Look at the recent appointments with the SEC. They're all Wall Street guys. So all ex-Goldman Sachs guys. So expect less regulation. Wall Street are going to do very well. They always do well, but now this is going to be, I think this is the best friend they ever had as a president, Wall Street. Yeah. I mean, think about it. I mean, this is the best president they ever had.
That
I mean,
makes sense.
Obama was not the case at all. Bush even he didn't understand Wall Street because he's not a businessman, a money guy.
Right.
Trump is, and I think everything that's related that touches Wall Street is going to do very well, very well. And these guys know how to make money. You know, good market, bad market. So I'm not saying you have to listen to all what they say, but do more what they do rather than what they say. They may say something, but they have an agenda and do something totally different. So be careful between, doing what they do, not what they say.
And I know you're not a financial planner, as you pointed out, Ziad, and we're not giving investment advice to anybody on who's listening to us right now. But as I listen to you talk about Wall Street being one of the industries poised to do well, how did you say it? Do what they say, not what they do? Is that how you phrased it?
I'm sorry. How do you do?
A moment ago, you said, "Do what they say, not what they do," or "Do what they."
Do what they do, not what they say.
So when I hear
they
that,
say things to sell you some stuff. They have agenda.
Boy, that is
there's difference between they want to.
I don't mean to interrupt you.
Do what they do. Don't do what they say. Yes, that's what I mean.
That's profound. As simplistic as that may sound, that is profound knowledge.
Yeah.
That they do things to sell you stuff.
Yeah. They sell you stuff. It's not necessarily what they do themselves. They have a different agenda. They want to sell you stuff to position themselves accordingly, and they're selling it to the unsuspecting public. So we really do well what they do. Look, I'll tell you why Wall Street did well. Frank Dodd, they're trying to repeat it. Less regulation. Taxes, they're trying to decrease it. He's trying to decrease it, and he will succeed, down to 15% of whatever the three tax brackets are. So less regulations, less taxes, more money flowing, obviously, because of all the spending, infrastructure, and other stuff. Wall Street will always have a role in that, whether they advise, intermediate, buy, sell, etc. I think the biggest beneficiary is going to be Wall Street. The second biggest beneficiary is going to be, if he succeeds with Obamacare, is going to be the healthcare industry. I think it's going to be a huge boom to the healthcare industry if he succeeds. Appealing, changing Obamacare, whatever he's going to do with Obamacare, because this is unsustainable for sure.
What about the insurance industry?
Obviously, of course, because it goes with the hand of healthcare, insurance, because of there are no policies towards insurance, etc. So all this is tied up. But look, this is what all industries. I cannot really say that because it really depends on how it develops regarding strategic reserves, regarding our relationship to the Middle East, regarding the war on terror, because you have a big factor here. It will show, Rick, within the next 100 days or 6 months. It will show. But now it's too early to say it. But now I can tell you, and I'm not even sure about the healthcare right now because we don't know yet what's going to happen to Obamacare. But Wall Street, for sure. Financial services, for sure.
As I listen to you, when I listen to you, Ziad, and again, as you point out, not a financial planner, we're not giving financial advice here, but it would seem that ETFs, exchange traded funds that focus on a certain industry might be the way to go.
Yeah, that's the start. Absolutely. But please, I talk about it in detail in the book, really, really intimate detail, and you see it. But also the book is timely. I'm waiting for July because I'm waiting to see how the trends are going to pick up from now until July. The first 6 months, it will show a lot about where we're headed direction-wise. And this is why I want to time it and doing it in July, not now. Although I can talk about all the material right now. That's why it's well planned.
All right, folks, the book is called Capitalism from the Inside Out, How the 99% Can Fight Crony Capitalism and Restore America's Promise. Its author is on the newsmaker line with me right now, Ziad Abdelnour. Ziad, is there a website that you would like to give out?
I'll soon tell you about the website. This is too early, Rick. I appreciate your time on that.
Okay. All right, Ziad, we think, again, folks, he's a contributor to both Politics and Profits, the podcast, and a TV show. You've seen him many times on a TV show, and he appears on both spots. Make sure you pick up the book in July. Ziad, we'll certainly have you back on before then. But in July, as that book prepares to come out, we'll have you back on to preview it again.
Thank you so much, Rick. I appreciate your time.
All right. I'm Rick Amato. This is Politics and Profits, the podcast. Back with some final comments right after this.